March 1st, 2018. Obviously, I have a problem here. As you see, somebody did cut my month-old laptop charger purchased in a local Chinese store in Novo Mesto, Slovenia, with a knife that someone, of course, his neighbor, Dane Kolens. Now, I did realize this happened when my laptop would not charge, even when I plugged one in, whatever I did, but that is understandable since neighbor Alice Berger promised me they're going to play with 110, 220 adapters, and they did. They ruined them. Now, when I see this thing is not charging, how the incident happened, I look down, and what I see instead also is power charger adapter from another laptop, this one right here that you see, which was still attached. It was still attached to it, but it was very funny hanging. And what I do is, I couldn't believe my eyes. I picked this thing up, and all of a sudden I have sparks flying in my face, and it falls off like this. There is a little bit more to it, and I did not realize, because I actually believe that this thing here, that something that came out, because this is not original cable from the factory. This charger, excuse me, laptop charger, this was purchased in a local store here, Chinese local store. No, it's not so. He cut here to Dane Kolens. He cut one more time here. Listen up, folks, this thing done so stupid that it actually hurts brain. Okay, this is done so damn retarded that even if you would believe that somebody is stupid, criminal, this kind of stuff actually exceeds one's expectations. It did exceed me on many, many times. It's like totally dumbed down. Like you can believe the person is a criminal, but this goes like a little bit beyond, like beyond, like kind of not from my side that I would exaggerate, but in this case you can see that this thing was actually cut twice in such a way that you don't actually even believe your own eyes, what your eyes see individual have done. One thing is when you see this wire hanging off the laptop adapter, like I did, and I couldn't believe my eyes that this individual is so blatantly stupid, violent, that would go and, you know, usually you would expect that somebody's going to do something like sneaky, something like this, but this is just so totally like in the face, like you don't actually believe. You're kind of shocked. I was shocked, like I couldn't believe when I saw like wire hanging of that adapter, you know. I couldn't believe my eyes. And so when I went and I picked up that thing, it was just, the only thing it did was just sparks flew in my face, literally, and it just fell off, the whole thing. And so it was done. It was done really in such a way, you know, that he would also go and do this stuff on the other side of adapter did not even come to me. And when I did recorded the whole thing again, and I checked the whole thing, I realized actually he also cut on the other side of the adapter like this as well. This is just so damn stupid, this whole thing. This is the same. If you look at the mouse, the same thing. He cut here. He liked to do this. He cut here, right here, basically in areas where things cannot be repaired. And I believe, but this was done by the Mitya Weber, squeezed original cable right here, excuse me, charger, cable from the charger, from the laptop charger right here, basically always in areas where things cannot be repaired, and just as he would promise to do. By the way, you cannot see it because the original charger, it appears to be in almost new state, because this is how I take care of things. But Mitya Weber told me under MK Ultra that he did damage the cable. I don't even know how he did this. I have no clue how he did this, but he did tell me, and so I recall, I can tell you exactly who did what. And it's like portion of this charger, which charger was, Excuse me, this is already from the new laptop. Is not. This is also old laptop, but it's also Mitya Weber on the original adapter from eMachines. I have no idea how he did this, but he told me under a culture that he's going to do that. It looks like he would. I have no idea how he did this, but look how wavy it is. It's like this, zzz, like this. I don't know how he did this. I don't know what he did to it. Obviously, he did this stuff, so maybe to suggest police, maybe that I didn't take care of my things, maybe something like this. I got no clue. So this neighbor of mine is, obviously this individual is completely insane. I don't know what the next time, the situation, what is going to cut the next time. You can see clearly with the knife, he had done this thing with a knife. You can clearly see it. Look at this. And it was done in such a way he could electrocute me right now. I mean, this guy is completely out of control. To log the time right now, now this is Thursday, March 1st of 2018. It's right now half 5 p.m. right now. So this is getting insane. This shit is crazy. This individual is a lunatic. Okay, today is April the 17th. Police still didn't come here for the micro cameras, but my mother just, I saw her on the camera going with a broom, and I asked her what she was doing, and the result here is totally evident, because the idea was basically to get me down here so they can get inside of the room. That's basically what they want to do so badly. You can see this thing would not fall off just like this. It doesn't happen this way. You can see it clearly. It's obvious that it was just crashed down, really. Well, I see the mom pulling down, you know, it appeared as she's doing something over there downstairs where these cables are glued to the ceiling, basically on a two-sided foam tape, high quality Chinese two-sided foam tape, very good cheap stuff. Previously never had problems with it. Previously had for I think it was 5 months that I had those cables on first time on the first foam tape that I placed on that ceiling, and those cables never came off. This time, basically new installation, not even a month, and as I go and I ask my mom what's happening, she says, well, I was downstairs and your cables of the cameras came off the ceiling. You know, so I was like, really, that's kind of impossible. I mean, this is a brand new installation. That thing holds these things like a rock, and on top of that, from the bottom, I have popped yet another tape, so it would stick. It would hold those cables, basically stick to the wall, glued to the ceiling from both sides. There's no way this could fell down. And I think Mom suggests me on how cables bothered her and so on. Now you were able to see I'm 6. My mom, I don't know, maybe she's 5 or something like this. When I came downstairs, those cables far above me. I mean, definitely not bother me. And she holds broom, trying to push them up. That didn't make any sense at all. It became totally evident she was lying. Now you were able to see that cables not only were detached, like have totally fallen down from that double-sided foam tape, but also the other tape that was glued to the double-sided foam tape from below also fell off together with the cables. Now that stuff can only be done one way. That really is probably, I would say, that's what he's using. I don't think that can be done actually any other way. It's possible, I don't know. But I think this can only be done with a microwave. Microwave gun does, let's say, if we got two surfaces here, let's say this is a tape on which you pop something something else, okay? Whatever it is that you pop, when you microwave, these beams go through, and in this second surface, what it would do is it would hit the area, I believe, and the only thing that would happen is this other object would probably, I just fell off. This is what I basically was suggested would happen, not only with this, but also with other items. Now they did play dirty, as you know, with the flags. Flags would just like he promised me under MK Ultra, like you know, sadistically, basically. If he would not like the flag and stuff like this, all kinds of stuff, that those flags would just be flying down. That he's going to detach them and things like this. He went a little further. Not only he, but with Mitya Weber, the two worked together all along, and have suggested me that not to forget to mention that the microwave action is so strong that it can even separate the foam. Okay, and now they did not only use the microwave. Like I said, they use X-ray, they use ultrasound. This is what I was promised. I firmly believe they did use that stuff. To the degree that my nuts, my balls started to hurt one time. To the degree that it would, like, as I would type the message on the news site, I couldn't hold to it because of what this thing does to you. This how bad this thing is. As a result, have left numerous grammar mistakes when posting that and stuff like this. This is a special video that I still have to post. At the same time, you see the guy downstairs. Basically, you don't see the guy downstairs, but what you see is like something, as he suggested he would do, is like he would take, I don't know, a piece of clothing or something like this and do like this to the camera, so it's like a signal, come downstairs, get me. Now you're agitated. What you do is you do go downstairs, and what's happening, my mom and my dad both have doors from their rooms locked. For what I was suggested, they would get in whenever I would get out and do stuff to me. And a lot of stuff did happen. And so that's how violently that stuff is used. Now, the microwave, obviously, as you were able to see, it's bad. I mean, if it hits the surface, like the second surface, to the degree that flags fell off, that cables fell off, let's say, from a double-sided foam tape, you can only imagine what that stuff can do to your brain. However, again, they're not that bad. They're not the bad as they have suggested me under MK Ultra, that they're so bad that it splits the foam tape. It's a big trick. With microwave gun, you can detach object from the wall, from the ceiling, whatever, without leaving a single trace, or without or from the package, because he used that to switch packages and stuff, without a single trace, without nothing. However, he always left me at least one corner that still was glued, you know, to the ceiling, with idea for me to make that mistake. Basically, what he had brainwashed me under MK Ultra, and that's pretty much means that he leaves you that two corners or one corner, so you pull that down, because you can't really, folks, when you stick the flag or whatever it is stick on by double-sided foam, if you want to detach that thing, you actually have to pull it. And when you pull that thing, what happens is it splits the foam on half, which is just yet another proof that he was doing that kind of stuff. But he did so with the idea that I would say that microwave gun is actually so strong. Like, I'm going to repeat to you exactly what they brainwashed me to state to the people. If it splits the tape on half, imagine what that does to your brain when it goes on you. That would be a stupid error. It would be a horrific mistake. So I just want to expose both. I want to say how this was done under MK Ultra, the misconceptions they build in the people, and then pretty much used through extreme violence to enforce. No longer only they tell you what they're going to do, stuff like this, or they would use like subliminary messages, something like this, moves, whatever, to get you into that world, but actually using violence really to make you say something that you will dearly regret afterwards. Okay, so I just want to make these things crystal clear. What I did mention but did not explain in video recording is that police never showed up for the camera search, for the micro cameras. From previous video recordings, you were able to see that these people even have cut my telephone. When I was placing the phone calls, they would just cut me, and this have happened repeatedly. Whenever I would try to contact government agencies, they would cut me. If I tried whatever was in respect to computers, whatever was like important, anything important that would go on, the only thing it will be, and they cut your telephone. And of course make their own phone call arrangement on what you're allowed to contact whoever you're trying to contact. This really is the system like this. In continuation, you will actually be even, well, my mom understands now English, and my mom can even read my mind. You're gonna see in continuation, no way that there are not micro cameras in here. Police never showed up, and the intention for them not showing up was the idea to keep me inside here as long as possible, as much as possible. So I would not go out and get recreation, exercise, and so on. They totally failed. I complained to Ljubljana, to inspectors and stuff like this. They never contacted. But this is already stuff we have discussed. Slovenian police is involved in this thing. I would say up to their throats, but they're drawn in it. Okay, they're drawn in their own creations. Okay, so here it is. This is April the 8th of 2018. I went for nice hiking yesterday, and guess what? Look what I found today. I mean, you think this individual, this neighbor, is a normal individual? You think this is normal? I mean, this is a totally brand new cable. Totally brand new cable, and look, he cut me one. Look at this. This definitely was not here the day before yesterday. And that this would happen on a brand new cable? No, again. So this individual is having his episodes, really. Very serious episodes.
April 23rd of 2018. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an account, quick account of basically, I'll try to do this as quick as possible. It's not easy at all. It's very complex in reality. But I'll try to give you an account of what went on and under MK Ultra for many cases, and also in reality what they have done to my tanks. This here was surveillance system which I have purchased February 18 of 2017. I think about just about 2 weeks, I think, before I departed to Hungary in 2017. I think, well, at least this is what I was promised under MK Ultra, was that Mita Weber promised me, as a husband from my niece, promised me that he would do to one the same as he have done to computers.
From previous videos, you were able to see that they have even modified, changed me chargers, if you like, power supply for cameras and for the surveillance system. They're not original, similar but not original. A remote controller which was used about twice by me, nothing more, appears to be broken. If that is the original remote controller, still I have no clue, because I don't have the time to play with these things. Cover from remote controller where batteries are stored, that's also gone. Mitya Weber under MK Ultra, I'm not going to say whether I believe or not. I don't really care, to be honest with you. I don't care. Suggest that this is going to also integrate inside of that thing, inside of the DVR, a micro camera. They also suggested me, which that I can say this was done, have suggested me also that they would do with this system as pleased, that the system would also would be done with the system same as with a computer, that the Bluetooth, some kind of, or maybe radio controllers, I have no clue. Basically, whatever I would see on the camera system, my neighbors would also see. Just like this. So they pretty much would do the same thing as he have done to my computer. Another thing that he suggested me was, and that I can say that is true, whenever they would want to go inside the house at night or whatever, that they would not want me to see things when they go inside or whatever. The only thing they would do is they would just go and turn off the system. The only thing I can say is, and for that matter, they suggested infrared remote controllers that they're going to use to do that stuff. Well, the only thing I can say is that this stuff here does turn off itself oftentimes. It's gone. It blanks, and it takes about, I think, I don't know, half a minute to reboot itself or something like that. Well, half a minute, you can pretty much go inside and do the stuff like this. Like I said, this thing is completely useless. It's only used for one thing. That's basically for me to see if anybody gets in. Now, in respect to the micro camera possibility of being inside of that system, he suggested the same for the monitor, which I brought back, which I brought to Slovenia from the US. Okay. Now, I do have a video. I just got to post one online. When I do measure, where I measured the radiation of the monitor, which I brought from the US, and that one actually exceeded 75 microteslas, which is like about maybe 7, actually even over 85 microteslas radiation. That's about 850 times more than what your laptop is allowed to actually transmit. I should say should transmit. 0.1 Tesla is what laptop, anything that is above 0.1, it's not considered as safe, as healthy. The monitor transmits over 800 times more, over 80 Teslas and stuff like this. Okay, so when I did open that thing, for which he also suggested me, on how there is a micro camera inside, right up front of that monitor, I did realize quite a few interesting things. One of the things was, the best one was that that thing was actually opened. And you can see that because a cable, he forgot to push one cable back. You're going to see that on a video when I post one. The only way that cable would be positioned like this, and there are many other things that also suggest this thing was open, would be if you would open one. But if you open that portion of the monitor, that's basically already, you're taking actually the tube apart. If you would do something like this, if I would do something like this, I think it would be incredibly stupid thing to do. Even the professionals, people that work in this type of industry, and I'm not electrician, I'm not electrical engineer or electrician, I'm a mechanical engineering technician, and I did not even work in my field. So now, even if I would, I absolutely would not get into this kind of issue. So probably in respect to the micro cameras being integrated inside of the DVR or I don't know, monitor, the idea was basically to get me to make me to you know, place my fingers inside of it and cause it might have been some damage, something which would actually apologize his own actions. Okay, so that's the stuff you don't want to get in. That's what I say myself. But also he suggested me under MK Ultra to get me into this kind of stuff. This is how MK Ultra works. The most important in this thing here, in this whole thing, is to explain how criminally MK Ultra really violently was implemented. This is the main thing here. Regarding micro cameras, this, if you have a time, yeah, you pay attention to it, you look for it. If you have a gadgets, tools, that's actually really outstanding, helpful. Now, I don't really have it, but more important that is that you keep yourself healthy, that you go out healthy, do the exercise, keep yourself in a good shape. And parallel to that, yeah, if you have a time, then you can play with this stuff, but that you would concentrate yourself on something like this that you can actually cause yourself more damage than good, that would be just a bad thing. Even despite what he also suggested me would be that police would come and they would take the monitor and DVR. I'm gonna just cite, but you're not gonna do this, but you're not gonna do this, and it's gonna be too late, but you're not gonna do this. They will come, they will get it and go, but you will not do this. For sure you will not do this, you know, just so you would go and you would do something that in the end actually cost you tremendously a lot. And it did cost me a lot because, you know, well, I did wait for the police, and when they didn't show up anymore, then I told them that they don't have to bother anymore because it was time for me to get out and get exercise. We could say that not only police is involved totally in it, but police have used this type of approach, this type of psychology, basically to assist these criminals in the matter. Because what happens is they turn your situation, I think it's, what is it? No, hora legalis is legal hour, actually into a home prison, right? Because you stick inside, they stick you inside, you can't go anywhere. They tell you as soon as you're going to go out, they're going to come and they're going to remove these cameras and stuff, and it's going to be too late. And they make the whole scenario on their MK Ultra. And the police is going to come, and police is not going to see anything. Police is going to go, and the cameras are going to go back and shit like this. So they totally brainwash you. And when police does not show up for the stuff like this, when you call them, who cares? Who cares about where these cameras are or what this camera is and so on? Like I said, if you can find, do when you have time. If you cannot, who cares? Once you don't show up as a police, in this kind of case, when you're actually asked to do this for, like, I asked them on Friday, they would not even come, and, you know, then it was, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday, I already complained to Ljubljana and stuff like this, these people would not get a hold of me back. It was urgent thing for me to complete. You know, when they don't want to show up, that's pretty much admission into crime. Because at the police, when you don't answer the question, that's actually considered as an admission into a crime. When you're asked a question, you don't answer the question, that's an admission into crime. That's basically how I see Slovenian police regarding this case. I see them as the worst criminals all along in everything. But just when applying into this situation, this is exactly how I have determined my view in respect to the micro cameras. It's like admission, yeah, there are micro cameras and so on and so forth. So they have a million ways, million manipulations, and to keep you inside and to do something stupid, cause you so damage and so on. That's why I just want to clarify that stuff. Regarding the micro cameras, I'm just going to repeat to you folks the way I see these things is, me personally, I see this as a form of warfare against a targeted individual. This is a very serious warfare because of the stuff they can do to you when they know what you're doing, and there's nothing you can do to prevent this stuff because they're always a step ahead of you. That's a very serious warfare. But otherwise, like morale-wise, basically the way I see it, because a lot of people get intimidated with this kind of issues. There are a million issues that make people intimidated in respect to this stuff. If somebody's watching you, the only thing I can say is that he's going to have more problems watching me, what I do, if he doesn't like what I do. Obviously, the people that do that kind of stuff don't like what you do. Then what I do or did have, acknowledging these people, understanding they're watching me. To me, this stuff actually does not bother me if somebody is watching me, because the worst thing, not only that people watch something that they don't want to watch, but the best thing about this stuff is when somebody is watching you is, if you're doing the right thing, is just that he is watching you helplessly, how you are actually progressing along. And so moral-wise, all this trick that they use and it doesn't work, and all kinds of gimmicks and stuff like this they use, psychological. You do something and the next thing you can see, you can hear, things happening and stuff like this. Psychological, when that kind of stuff is happening, this is extremely, extremely defeating for the people that anticipate they could actually succeed against you with gimmicks and stuff like this. So it kind of shapes a morale of the person, and in a way I actually even like it this way. I'm not a paranoid, I'm not even disturbed by that stuff. What I do is I turn things into my advantage, even if things are like brutally against me. And the brutal against me is that, if you would want to go and you want to set up something for this guy so you would caught him on a camera or something, instead of succeeding in it, like he said, the only thing that's going to happen is I'm going to take your spy cam to my home. That's all there is to it. You're going to lose one. That's pretty much it. And when you consider this kind of stuff, you really don't have a chance. A camera against the micro camera, this is not really comparison. I mean, you can't compare that. You can't compare the high-tech with something that sells on eBay, and for the most part, whatever I ordered that was decent from the eBay never ever even arrived. So this basically is how I see it. So no worries about me being a paranoid or suffering from any kind of issues like this. I like it that way. In a way I do, and the other way I really don't,
Well, a system did perform not as expected. I do have to go again over initial video recordings about this stuff to make definite claims in respect to this system, what exactly was wrong with it. I can tell you that this system turned off itself on many occasions. I don't know, was it as my niece's husband have suggested me would do under MK Ultra, and have later on reminded me again in real time when he was visiting the house. So I would not forget under any circumstances the stuff this individual have talked under MK Ultra. He talked about switches and stuff like this. I don't know, it might have been infrared remote control or something like this. They have played with that too, I remember, under MK Ultra that was used. Or it might really have been a case that he did something to it. I yet have to open this thing, look into it. This thing isn't going anywhere before I get hands on it. Before I open one and look inside, this thing is not going to any police station or anybody like this for investigation. So this is going to be the first thing to do. The last one to count on really is the police in Slovenia. It does not get any worse than that. Next item right here. Basically, two items never ever delivered to me. And there were several other items also that I ordered, purchased when in Belarus. And as you know, Putin hold those items in the main city in Minsk, in Belarus, about maybe 200 kilometers maybe away from Vitebsk. They would not be delivered to me for months. this went well. This went well. This thing went well, but the problem is that my computer, where the cable is, where the cable should be used for HDMI, I believe that thing is destroyed because I wasn't capable to use one. Not on the DVD, not a DVR surveillance system, not on this Toshiba camcorder. Basically not on anything. And I also have to say, in respect to Toshiba camcorder, which I have purchased, I believe in 2016, sometimes at the end of the 2016, in the middle of 2016, the first camcorder, Toshiba camcorder, was destroyed to me within like 2-3 days in this very room inside here. Within 2-3 days, ladies and gentlemen, the camcorder was destroyed. And I did send one to the service, to Ljubljana, on what these people have sent me a new camcorder, on what that camcorder was also destroyed. I am talking about the charging options. Individual who would do stuff like this again is from my niece's husband, Mitya Weber. I didn't have any option basically to use for files that I could transfer or anything like this. Each time I had and I have to basically take the card out and then pop that inside of the card reader, and then from card reader on the computer, because even the card reader on my computer was destroyed. I mean, total nightmare. I mean, I'm talking about €90 camera like this, basically destroyed already for the second time. Now the camera just randomly turned itself off and so on. The same fate have happened to Olympus camera, basically totally destroyed, totally ruined camera. I think I paid about €115 for one. So basically, buy new just to have destroyed within, I don't know, week, 2 weeks. And it doesn't matter if it's a camera, if it's a computer. The only thing I can say is a total destruction of everything that comes inside of this house. And it's also something that have encompassed me on the trip to Ukraine and to Belarus. This shit went on over there too, but it started in Hungary. It started in Hungary, and it really was by the sea. Viktor Orban. It really was, because Viktor Orban is no different from Benjamin Netanyahu, nor were Americans, if you like. Because what they wanted to do the most is protect Vladimir Putin. They're not afraid me blaming them, because there's nobody can do nothing to them in US or in Hungary and so on and so forth. They have a total control over there. But when it comes to Russia, there are still some decent people in there, you know, and when they see thuggery like this, guess what? They don't like it. And so it's better, you know, it's better for me to blame them than him. And the whole operation throughout Hungary, Ukraine, Belarus really went with lots of these agents that either were hired by the KGB, by the Putin, you know, or simply, you know, sent like a, you know, totally assistance to Vladimir Putin by the foreign governments. Here, when it comes to the pans, spy pans, the only thing I can say is that none of this ever operated. None of these pans operated because as soon as you would start recording, it would record maybe 2-3 seconds and it would turn itself off. That was pretty much it. That was the case with it. And the interesting thing is that even after I pulled the batteries out and I tried this on 2 pans, and I connected those pans to external charger, you know, like a power bank, like a little power bank, it would still go and turn itself off after like a few seconds. Totally useless. Really great stuff otherwise, but basically ended as a money thrown away. Batteries were good. Very cheap batteries that I could use for Toshiba, little Toshiba camcorder. Cheap, but then the same old same song started. About 2 batteries were like repeatedly destroyed. They would not operate at all. And so what I did was I purchased few additional, as you are about to see in continuation. Battery charger for Toshiba Camilo. As they have destroyed me in cables and absolutely everything on the trip to the Belarus, I was forced to repurchase the stuff that was missing. And so this stuff that I purchased was awesome. This is actually not even... No, this thing is actually not even original camcorder for Toshiba. It's actually a universal charger. It's really great, but exactly the same thing was done to one as I was promised would be the case by the neighbor here, and that is precisely Alex Berger. I don't know whether he had a problem with it or not, but if you don't squeeze like here in the middle, in this portion here, the charger will not even operate. And it's precisely what he have told me under MK Ultra the case would be. As this movie stars, if you like, were visiting this place, they much of the time when those meetings were taking place, important decisions were made when they were exchanging information with the East, with Vladimir Putin, with Russians, if you like. Lots of time these people didn't know what to do with it. They do have factories in China. Bush, Schwarzenegger, probably I would say Stallone. And they did play with these things, and they did make people excited about this, and whatever stuff went wrong, whatever it would go wrong, they started to come up with a plan, really, really nasty plan on how stuff like this they're going to do to me. But again, I should be blaming them when in reality all this stuff was done to protect Vladimir Putin, really. This stuff here, I purchased two of this here, two of the cards. And up to this point here, I started to get upset with the stuff that didn't work, whatever I purchased. And in my head was, when you buy from eBay, you buy from eBay, you buy from eBay. Lots of people were upset because lots of people, you know, it's like a problem with the attitude that people have developed. It's like, it's Chinese, it's cheap, it's Chinese. This is not true. The Chinese produce very high quality products for a very, very low price. I can guarantee you that stuff that you purchase can last you for years. But again, if you're around the lunatics like this, it's not going to last you even 2-3 days. In fact, most of the stuff is going to be broken before it even gets inside of your house. It's just like this. No different was the case with these two cards. This individual right here across the road destroyed me a load of cards. He destroyed me probably about, I estimate about $40 in SD cards alone. At least $40 US in cards alone within the last 6 months. That's a whole lot. These two cards were the first cards that he destroyed. As a new cards, these cards didn't work. I demanded the money back. The next thing you see is, I was very upset. I threw the whole thing in a garbage can. This camera, it's totally useless. Basically, totally useless. I would not recommend this to anybody. This is very good stuff, very cheap. Good, very good, all this stuff good. Purchased this here, but it regretted. So I threw them in the garbage. All this stuff good. All this stuff was good. No complaints about any of this stuff. Let's just go to the next page. There's a whole lot about this stuff that I will talk to you about what was done to me. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go quickly over like this, explain to you exactly what went on, how, and then basically what we're going to do is I'm going to present you with the physical proofs. So it's not going to be some kind of doubts and stuff is possible or not possible. There were cameras I have ordered, and I'm going to show you what kind of cameras, which, however, did not appear anywhere on a PayPal statement. Once I have filed for the money return, the first thing that eBay would do is they would go and they would have these items disappear from my summary list. I would get money refunded back for some items. For some items, I did not get the money refunded back. Interesting, however, is that none of these items appear nor on PayPal statement nor under my bank account, and that's just a fact. Watches. This was just really first watch I have bought it. The watch that had broken the day after, well, basically the day after I recorded the video about Netanyahu, about what the difference is between the U.S., Russia. I suggested how U.S. military is overrated, how in China the same cost that it costs for the bottle of the water is what a decent watch costs you. Now, the watch like this will go years to you without any problems. But guess what? The day after the video was recorded, watch was destroyed, broken. I'm not sure whether this watch or was it the next one, because I bought about 6-7 like this watches. I love these watches. The problem only was that after 2-3 days, all the watches stopped working. I'm not sure if this was the watch that stopped immediately working, or was it the watch which I bought later on, and you're going to see in continuation from my father. This is something I'm not sure of. However, the interesting was, as soon as I placed one online, and that was from my father watch, the very next day father came to me smiling and laughing, that watch stopped, ha ha ha. And I was like, what do you mean stopped? I mean, this is now already like the second watch like this. I became suspicious. So I went for, and I was going to change the battery on one, and accidentally, these things have a huge glass, like a little window, and that thing just cracked me. And so that was already damage that I have created, but definitely nothing really was wrong with the battery. Battery doesn't die basically on a new watch the day after you record video and stuff like this. Anyhow, this is all good. This is all good. No complaints about this. This here. This I have bought. Of course, I didn't buy with just, like a battery, but I have bought about 4 of this. 4 of this, of which none ever arrived to this address. None of this, ladies and gentlemen, ever arrived to this address. And my neighbor Danico Lenz told me that whenever it's gonna be something like this, now this is very, very efficient stuff if you want to video record somebody, or you want to go to the city, and you're stuck to something like this, and you can video record pretty much people playing, try to play with you and stuff like this. None of this stuff was ever permitted to me. None of this stuff was ever delivered to me. I don't know why this thing is here. I did requested the refund for all other items. Like I have stated, whenever I have requested the refund, all of them disappeared. For some I got the money back, for some I never got the money back. All this stuff really good. This is very nice. I recommend all this stuff to everybody. This here not, but the rest of it yes. Did not come. Did come. This one was reordered at a later time. And basically it's kind of useless because, well, pretty much everybody can see that you have this thing here attached. I don't really recommend this, but this thing never came. This one did. This thing is useless. So pretty much whatever was useless, and this is also what I was promised under MK Ultra, would come. This is useless because it like vibrates and stuff like this. It's totally useless stuff. This thing here, I am not sure. So far, whatever I did with it, it turned itself off. So I kind of think that the same situation as with pens. It did came though. This thing here, a pen, same thing. This is yet another one of those watches. The telephone came broken for my mother, just as the case was with Sylvester Stallone's telephone. I don't know what kind of telephone that he had back then here in Slovenia, but he had a problem with the audio, with the earplug. I mean, with the earplugs, with the earphones. He could not, in other words, listen to the radio or whatever. I did not realize any of this because my mom actually never uses this, but then, like, after 6 months, I really did. And then I reminded myself of this thing, basically meaning that my mom never actually listened to any music at all. My mom is using this as a phone. That's all there is to her. She does not even know how to use camera or anything like this. And the point here is that the stuff that they had promised me they would do, they did. And like I said, I didn't even realize, like, until like 6 months later, it finally came to me. One day when I was, I bought a load of those headphones, because guess why? All the headphones throughout the years here, just the case was with the cameras, with everything else in this room, it all stopped working within like a week or 2. All of them would just magically break and break and break and break. And I had that same attitude, perception, that we have pretty much developed based on brainwashing. It's Chinese, it's cheap, what did you expect? That's pretty much what you get, what attitude, perception was in the US. And so I didn't bother really investigating what went on. I realized that now some really Sony headphones broke. And, I knew about the stuff I was promised, but, when the stuff like this is happening, the problem is you don't actually want to believe one. Till it grows into like a total destruction of the property, like till your computers are trashed, till totally everything is destroyed. And that was my big mistake. But honest to God, when you don't have employment, when you don't have financial resource, you're actually left with nothing else than this here. So this went on for a very long time. Obviously, this thing might have been even destroyed before my mother got the telephone. The telephone, by the way, today even is totally new as the day when she got one, totally. So that meaning that I believe probably was destroyed already before she even got one. Anyhow, this is all good stuff. There you go. All my adapters were broken. Microcards replaced with other microcards. So it started here with this stuff. It started with this stuff because I no longer was capable. I had a problem transferring data from Androids. Obviously, from camera, I couldn't. From cameras, I couldn't transfer absolutely anything because cameras were totally destroyed. And then you're gonna see what happened next. I bought like a storage case and stuff like this, so I would have everything nice, handy. I recommend this pens. Oh, this is all good stuff. No problem with it. Here. This is when I started to remind myself of MK Ultra, like totally. And I have devoted to what you see here, shirts, this stuff, this clothing. What I did was when during the process of purchasing the shirts, I have totally described the local police involvement in MK Ultra against me, and I have totally predicted who did, how, and precisely what exactly is going to happen. I was brainwashed, ladies and gentlemen, on these exact items that you see here. As a matter of fact, I cannot say that exact shirts, but there were like a pants, like a military, like elastic fabric pants, on which I was brainwashed. The proof is that I did video recorded it at the time of the purchase, and I will place the video online, which is totally proving that it was MK Ultra, and it's totally explained how it was done, what I was told, and pretty much what I was promised would happen, and it's exactly what did happen. So never mind the shirts, we're gonna get back to that. Good stuff. Belts. Belts was like this. From the beginning when I bought, it was good. Then what happened was, I think it was like a one belt I got was good. Then I bought more. The next thing you see, exactly as I was promised under MK Ultra, the case would be, I got instead used belts from my neighbor. I was told that my neighbor is going to give me, that he's going to retain new belts and he's going to give me used belts. No, seriously, no kidding. It did happen. Another watch. Wallet's good. This is all good stuff. All good, all good. Oh, the touch screens. Yeah, well, I bought this one here just as a spare option. However, I have to say that I bought also about 4 or maybe more glass protection, like a plastic glass protection screens. None of which ever was delivered to me, because this is what I was told on MK Ultra would be used to basically keep me miserable. What they would do is they would scratch my screens from the Androids what I would get, and would not allow me basically to obtain replacements. That is just a matter of fact. I never got any. Here you have the straps. Again, I recommend this. This is a good stuff. That's all I can say. And again, the same thing. This good stuff. No complaints about any of this. This was interesting. Well, I am not precisely sure whether there's something wrong with there is like a screw here on what you can screw on like a camera holder, and I'm not sure whether neighbor have either changed me this. It's like a little ball, and whether he changed me this thing here that's or he did something to that camera holder. I'm not sure, but I am gonna get into that issue. This stuff was all good. This is all good stuff. I got no complaints about that stuff. Well, maybe exactly good stuff. Good stuff. Again, belts. This is all good. And replacement batteries, as I have suggested. So cheap. So cheap. Original would cost me about, I don't know, maybe 10-15 bucks. So cheap, and I was so pleased with it. And more of these watches, which magically stopped working like, well, like the second, third day. They would just magically stop, or they would just magically start to lag behind out of nowhere, really. This stuff here never arrived to me. I'm not sure for the other one whether I did submit the request, return request, or I did for one of this. I really do not know. The only thing I can say is that none of this is the stuff you really want, none of this ever came to me.
Issue with the pinhole spy cameras. Yes, I did purchase 4 of those, and I did purchase 2 others, which were at least 2 others, which never ever was delivered. For some, I was actually even charged money, and I never got the item. So, meaning that I have actually purchased these items to the neighbor, because either I have no idea, I have failed to request the money back, whatever the issue was. What's interesting about it is now, when I think about what's interesting, and it's probably this is how they have done it anyways. The items for which I have requested the return, this is quite funny. You can see like 3 of them. You can see it online. They appear there. But for the items which I have waited, like, don't want to use a bad word, for month, 2, whatever, and those that never ever arrived, what's interesting, those items don't appear anywhere. So how would that be possible? I'm going to tell you how that's possible, actually. The first assumption I made was that the eBay, which is the same company as a PayPal, have used PayPal to conceive facts, proofs, and then further in coordination with the bank which I use in Slovenia, which is Banka. That possibility still exists. I'm not neglecting that possibility because they lie to me here about everything. These politicians did stuff that is so shameful. It is shameful for me so much that I would, sometimes, many times I wish that just earth would open itself and I would just somehow fall inside and they wouldn't see me anymore. I did some really, really horrific stuff that I, draw some, made some statements against, Russian and Serbian people that actually people have nothing to do with this. It's all about these politicians who cannot even exist without cooking, that kinds of issues like this. And then it's always the people that pay the price. It's not only me that I was like this in this kind of situation, but just imagine Jews were guilty for everything here. Israel was guilty for everything. They incited in the stuff like this, and who in reality did this kind of stuff. So what they do is they build this kind of issues so they can, I guess, that they look good in a public on a TV like a rational people. In reality, these people are savages. They're brutal savages, liars is what they are. Okay, so that kind of possibility still exists, especially because many issues have happened. I already have discussed some in respect to the bank here in Slovenia, but many I have not even discussed yet. So many issues have happened. Some even suggested this bank where I am at, this actually is ex-Yugo Banka, and again, I don't have nothing against the Serbian people. This is not, my idea is not to incite any kind of hatred against the Serbian people, but exactly the opposite. If I only can help as much as possibly I can, because these people helped us, and this kind of mentality, some kind of hateful mentality, this is just work against yourself. Basically, when we bite this kind of a racist ideologist, the only thing that happens is we work against ourselves. That's pretty much is what it is. Should never come in consideration, but And so it's suggested that this bank is ex-Yugoslav, Yugobanka, and stuff like this. This was one possibility on how those traces could be, even, make them disappear. But then there is another one, much more rational, much more logical option. And that's basically just like the stuff I have talked about, the eBay. These people were involved in a lot of stuff because of stalking, because of all these issues that involved all kinds of people. These people might have not wanted me to obtain this kind of pinhole cameras.